welcome to another edition of the Silverbird Selection. Today we're taking a journey into the Caverns of Eriban with this game that was released in this packaging in 1986 but was released previously by Firebird in their white and red packaging in 1985 for £2.50. This one would have cost £1.99 of course. So very common game to find out there on eBay and your online retro gaming stores. This copy cost me £3, so let's take a look at it. So here we have the front cover of the game, usual sort of stuff, quite a nice logo, and the spaceship, which is you can see is in the caverns. I think that might be quite influenced by one of the Thunderbirds with the yellow and red on there. Spine's got the Caverns of Eriban logo on as well, and the caverns wrap around onto the back cover, which has got the usual pair of screenshots where you can see a spaceship in some caverns, unsurprisingly. And then the description of the game is very hard to read because it kind of clashes with the background, but I think that says deliver urgent supplies to 25 mining bases before you get zapped, or something along those lines. So you can see from the list of games that are available at this point that this is a very early release on the Silver Range packaging. You've only got 6 games there for the Commodore 64. Most of which had already been released in the white and red packaging previously. And you've got the in-crowd Silver Club thing there. We'll skip past that quickly. Onto the instructions. Caverns of Eriban, copyright Lee Brain, 1985. You've got the background for the game. As the pilot of a mine supply ship, your task is to enter the Caverns of Eriban to deliver supplies to the subterranean mining depots. Lots of other information there as well. Loading instructions, and then the gameplay instructions, pretty simple. Joystick plugged into port 2, standard stuff. Start the game by pressing fire. I think you could have worked that out without the instructions. And yeah, really nothing of information there other than the fact that you get a supply of 7 ships, which makes me think it's going to be quite a tricky game to play. So here you can see the loading screen. It's not too bad. It's quite nicely drawn. The caverns are nicely drawn. The spaceship, not so much. It kind of reminds me of a modern day military drone to some extent, with the sort of flat wings and the narrow body, but yeah, not the best drawn spaceship of all time, but there you go. Caverns of Eriban by Lee Brain, it says there, and also the credit for the loading screen in the bottom corner there, C. Haynes. Okay, so the game is loaded, and as you can see, the loading screen is also used as a title screen image. And the person responsible for that is Chris Haynes, as it says here on the credits here. You can also see it was written by Lee Brain, music by Chris Cox and Ian Gray. Now in my last video, the Mermaid Madness video, I show my lack of culture by not knowing what the classical music compositions were in the game. So this time I've checked, and this is actually a piece of music by Holst from his Planet Suite. I don't know the specific piece that it is, but this is a Sid rendition of that music. It's not the most amazing Sid tune, but I quite like it actually. So you can also see you've got a high score table, or the order of merit as it says there, and the score readout across the top, giving this a fairly arcade style presentation. So let's get on with playing the game. Okay, so first of all I need to apologise. At some points during this video it might go slightly out of focus. That's because we've got a lot of black background and then lots of other colours, and it kind of loses focus from time to time, so I apologise for that if it does happen. I've tried all the settings on my camera I can and got nowhere, so I've given up in the end. This is the best it's going to get. So you start on the top above the surface of the mines, the caverns if you like, since that's what the title of the game is. And you're in this yellow ship. You've got to pick up some supplies. You can pick up 5 lots of supplies at once from these stations. I've just done that. And then you make your way into the caverns. You've got to deliver those supplies to the various stations below the ground. So I'll head down here, and you've got lots of different obstacles to avoid, all of which will kill you at a single hit. So I'm going to try and make it through here first. You can see there's these sort of stalagmites and stalactites and the dripping stuff down, so I'm just trying to get out of the way there. Knowing I've crashed into it, That was a terrible start. Let's go again. You don't have to replenish supplies each time, you keep the supplies. That's it, there we go. So land on the platform there. The light on the tower turns from red to green, and that's the supplies delivered. The supplies have gone down by 1, as you can see as well. So let's move over to the next one. And you'll see there's lots of different obstacles to avoid. There's the drips, there's missiles, there's rockets that fire up from the surface, and there's other kinds of things that bounce around, and everything you touch will destroy it, as will the walls of the cave. So it's not really an action game, it's more of a sort of skill game, traversing through a maze, and there's lots of precision required in it, and also patience in certain areas as well. Ooh. And I read a review of the game on Lemon64, which I thought gave a really good analogy of what kind of game it is. It's actually like one of those buzz wires. The thing where you had the piece of wire and you had to move the hoop along it without touching the wire, and if it did it would buzz and set off like an electrode or whatever. Yeah, it's very similar to that, because anything you touch in this game will kill you. So you've got to avoid all these little obstacles and things, and not crash into the walls either, and obviously try and deliver the cargo. As you'll have seen now, when you do lose a life, you respawn at the last place that you dropped some cargo off, so that's handy, but it also does cause a problem if one of the areas, like this one for example, is quite tricky to get to and you end up having to go back to it every time. It does get a bit frustrating. I'm waiting for this thing here to fire a missile, because I know it's going to do it at some point. There we go. So the good thing is virtually all projectiles can be destroyed as well, which helps. You do get points for them. Not a lot of points, I think it's like 20 points or something like that for most of them. But it does mean that you can usually navigate around most things. So graphically it's not that impressive. They're pretty simplistic, single colour sprites for the most part. The cavern graphics are quite nicely done. There's a bit of irregularity to the floors and ceilings, and they're a nice brown colour, I suppose. So they're not too bad, but the sort of missiles and spaceships and things are a little bit poor, you would say. Oh dear, that was because I was trying to get away from that missile. You can see your lives go down pretty quickly. It is quite a tough game, and the difficulty level is pretty vertical. It will spike up very quickly from a couple of easy to drop off areas at the top to things that are really difficult to get to quite soon within the game. The further down you get in general into the caverns, the more complicated the things are to destroy. Oh, that was just garbage. So the ship, when you control it, as you can see, it will just stay perfectly still, and if you just tap the joystick one way or the other, it will move just little bits at a time. Oh, God almighty. It will move just little touches at a time, which is required for a game with this sort of precision. But if you hold the joystick in one direction for any period of time, you will stop moving more consistently, and then you get a bit of inertia when you slow down, and sort of that turning around of the ship, a bit like you get in Defender. So that can make it a little bit more challenging to actually slow down when you need to. But I'll try and get out of here and deliver one more set of supplies, and then I'll need to get back up to the top to get some more, which is a new challenge in itself. Oh, this is going really badly. The sound, as I mentioned, is this classical tune, which is quite nice. It does sort of suit the game. It's got a sort of a frantic sort of feel to it, so I think that does suit the game quite well, even though it's not the most sophisticated SID tune perhaps. Sound effects are your typical space game explosions and laser shots. You could sit here forever shooting this rocket, but you're going to have to go up at some point. Okay, here's another place to drop another lot of supplies off. And that's it. I've now run out of supplies, which means I've got to get back to the surface to get some more. So I've got a few lives left, so hopefully I can do that. These things are annoying, sort of UFOs that come out of these volcanoes. And I don't actually think this is a way out either. I'm going to go back the other way instead. Okay, so I'm gradually making my way back to where I came into the caverns. There are 3 entrances to the caverns, so I'll take you, if I can get back to the surface and get some more supplies, I'll take you into one of the others. But even getting back out is tricky because you've got this thing spewing random fireballs out of it. Just trying to wait for a gap where... Right, here we go, we're out. And you also got cannons shooting on the top, which have got me this time. And that's going to send me all the way back to where I was. Oh, and that's it, game over. It's really hard. So what I'll do is play again and take you through another section of the caverns, just to show a little bit more of the game. But as you can see, it's really quite challenging, and in some places quite unfair as well, because there are areas where you'll just be flying along trying to get out, and then something will just pop out randomly and kill you. And as you've already seen, actually traversing across the top of the level is almost as hard as within the caverns. So let's try and get down here. I never did actually manage to get to show you the refueling or restocking. It does refuel as well, but your fuel resets to 5,000 after every death anyway, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. Oh, right, now we can get moving. So yeah, there's a lot of timing involved with this, and also a little bit of luck at times as well, I think, it's fair to say. So let's make our way down this way, see what else we can see. So it's very tempting to drop off the cargo at the top section, the top delivery points. But if you do that, you then have the problem that if you drop one off right at the bottom and want to make your way back to the top, every time you lose a life, you'll end up thrown all the way back to the bottom again. So I think the strategy is really probably to drop them off at the bottom first and work your way up. So I'll take you to one of the bottom ones and see if we can do that. Just waiting for the inevitable spew of a fireball here, and then hopefully we can make our way through here. So here you can see we're going to drop one off at this area at the bottom here. I haven't actually lost a life yet, amazingly. Now here's a really challenging place to get through. Very narrow corridors, and then in a second you'll see it drops this sort of rolling coin. Oh, that was awful. It drops this rolling coin down the platforms as well. Now the good thing is that you can't actually shoot that, so it's not too bad. Right, so... But you can imagine if you're then stuck in this area and you can't get out, it does get a bit frustrating to have to replay through these areas over and over again. I actually managed to do that reasonably well. So I'm out of supply, so I need to try and make my way back to the top again now. Let's see if I can do that without failing. No, see, straight away I've got a problem with this sort of snow, sparkly stuff dropping down. No, I missed the gap. So now I'm stuck here and I've got to go around it all again. So yeah, there's some serious frustration to be had in the game, to be sure. But I do think it's quite a nice idea and it's quite playable. It can be infuriating. I've sworn a lot in trying out this game. But overall I do think it's reasonably interesting and challenging and a little bit different from your normal sort of space shoot 'em ups. As I said, it's not really a shoot 'em up or even a space action game. It's definitely more of almost a puzzle game really. There are puzzles to solve, areas where you've got to make the right decisions at the right time. Now the issue I'm going to have here is if I die at any point during this, I'm going to get thrown all the way back into that complicated maze at the bottom, so I'm going to have to be really careful. As you can see, I've got some UFOs here taking off. They're not too much to worry about. No, I can't get out there. I must have to go over to the left here. Let's see how we get on. You'll just get so close to getting out and then end up getting blown up. But actually I think I've managed it. As long as I can get out of here and not get hit by one of these rockets, then I should be alright. The good thing about the cannons on the top is they do always shoot at the same angle, so you can kind of work them out, and the same frequency thing. So there you go, I'm restocked. Oh, missed. Restocked and trying to go back into the caverns to deliver more cargo now. No, I've messed that up again. This is quite tricky because you've got to time the shot on the rocket. Right, let's go for it. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Okay, so let's go back in here and try and deliver a few more. There's not really much more to say about the game. It's, as I've said, a pretty challenging piece of work. Oh, especially when you crash into the scenery. It is pixel perfect, which is a good thing because the controls are pixel perfect as well. But it's also a bad thing because you'll have to get your timing and your precision exactly right and negotiating around these things. No, that was absolutely stupid. I stood right in front of the thing shooting there. Right, there we go. Oh, that was close as well. Only got a couple of ships left. Let's see if I can actually get another bit of cargo delivered before losing all lives. Oh, for heaven's sake. I'm making a real hash of this. So last life, see if I can actually, there must be somewhere I can go with this. No, I've been that way already, so let's go back over. Oh, and there we go. That was that inertia I was talking about. Didn't quite slow down in time when I got hit, and I think we've seen enough there. You've seen most of the levels. There's 25 things to deliver stuff to, stations. And I don't know what happens after that because I've never got close to completing the game or completing the first stage, so I don't know if there's more after that or if that's the end of it. It's very challenging and I probably never will get anywhere near to delivering all 25. So let's get on with the review scores. Firstly, I would say the packaging was a bit average. The image on the front was okay, the instructions were adequate, but the fact that the text was kind of obscured on the back cover was a bit disappointing. So I'm just going to go with 6 out of 10 for the packaging. Presentation though is pretty nice. You've got the title screen with the graphic there, the high score table, a nice score readout with all your ships and supplies and fuel and everything. So pretty nicely presented. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Graphics are fairly average for 1985. There were already games with better graphics out there, so I'm just going to go with 5 out of 10 for the graphics. Sound is not too bad. Pretty average. The tune's not amazing, but it's quite a nice tune, even though it's not a great SID tune necessarily. And there are some sound effects in game as well, so I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for the sound. Playability, I've sort of toed and fro between 4 and 6. Sometimes when I first played it I thought 4 out of 10 was the best I was going to give it because of how hard it was, but the more I played it the more I got into it and got to grips with the controls, and I was going to give it 6 out of 10. In the end though, because of that frustrating difficulty level, I'm going to stick with 5 out of 10 for the playability, which gives it an overall score of 6.2. And I would say it was worth £1.99. It's a pretty decent budget game, not amazing graphics, it's pretty average across the board with the scores, but pretty original style game and definitely playable if you can deal with the frustrating difficulty level. So yeah, worth the £1.99. That's my feelings about Caverns of Eriban. If you've got any thoughts about the game, then please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you again soon for another game review. Thanks for watching.